We know that these local government financing vehicles, it's not a new problem. They were on the back burner along with the rest of the deleveraging campaign for a while. So is it coming to a head now? Why are we talking about this?
Yes, so these local government financing vehicles have always been liquidity strained. And that's because they were set up to build infrastructure that is used by the public or by businesses very cheaply. And that's for public welfare, that's for growing local economies. But the companies themselves don't really get many rewards. And that was fine as long as the local economy was growing and local governments are getting more tax revenues. And then they would be able to transfer those revenues in different ways to the LGFVs so they could service that debt. Now, the reason this is in focus now is because of the 2-year property downturn in China. Local government income has really fallen, and it's making it much more difficult for them to support their local LGFVs in servicing their debt.
So you've been actually speaking to staff that work at these LGFVs. What insights did we get?
The biggest insight is setting the stage really for what's going to happen this year. And that's because before the pandemic, Beijing set a plan in motion to try and get these companies to diversify into new business areas and to inject state assets into these companies so that they could generate more of their own cash flows that would help them service debt. Now, that's worked out in some wealthier regions of China, but from our conversations with people inside LGFVs, that's really not worked in poorer parts of China because they don't have the assets there that can generate really good cash flow. So that really sets the stage for where Beijing needs to step in, or banks need to restructure debt, or local governments need to cut spending on other areas so they can carry on servicing their debt.
The bond market hasn't exactly helped, right? Is Beijing running out of options at this point?
I think that it's very interesting. We recently saw a report that the PBOC is considering using its own balance sheet to try and support some of the weakest LGFVs. Now, that's an indication that we're going to see all of these different methods at play. But the bottom line is that Beijing doesn't really want to do a central government bailout because of the politics it has with local governments. And so we're probably going to see a mix of restructuring, which will limit banks' ability to support the economy going forward, and continued pressure on local governments to keep making bond payments and supporting LGFVs to do that. And that's going to mean they're going to have to cut spending in other areas, at least in the poorer regions. So both of those trends, bank restructuring and local governments being under more pressure, that should be a drag on China's growth, so long as the central government doesn't step in with a big bailout, which it apparently doesn't want to do.